Are you ready to change your health and your mindset about loneliness? This is Lisa Fausey with Home Helpers Home Care in Martinsburg, West Virginia. In our last video, we talked about the risk factors of loneliness and how it can affect your health. And in this video, we're actually going to be talking about how to combat loneliness. So the first thing to talk about in regard to how to combat loneliness, and particularly the loneliness in our older adult population, is really figuring out how to stay connected. Is that connection through family conversations? Is it through social engagements? Is it through community engagements? Is it through speaking to friends and family more often? Is it through professional assistance? Professional help from professional companions and care pros, like what we have here at Home Helpers. And so let's talk about some of those things that we can do to combat loneliness in ourselves and in our older population. The first tip that we'll give you in order to help older adults and yourself combat isolation and loneliness is to stay connected with people. So maybe it takes scheduling a time every day to call your mom and just check in and say, "Hey, Mom, how's it going today? Just wanted to check in and tell you I love you and wanted to see how things are going and if there's anything I can help you with." And not only adult children calling their loved ones and calling their older adults in their family, but maybe even have the grandkids call. Maybe have a friend call. You can actually arrange a calendar that would list out different folks who are going to call each and every day. Now, that's a personal way of making those calls every day. But here at Home Helpers, we also offer daily check-in calls as well. So we actually can have a professional call and talk to your loved one and make sure that they're eating and drinking, that they took their medications, and just to check their overall well-being. And then we can send a little email to you and let you know that your mom was doing great today and she took her meds and she's eaten and she's drank and she's been doing really well and feels great. And that gives you some peace of mind. So there are two different ways right there that you can stay connected by phone. Another neat thing that you can do in staying connected is set up a video portal at your loved one's home. So maybe it's a Facebook portal or it's another type of a device. You could do that with a Google Home, or you could do that with an Echo Show that has a video feature on it. And you can just drop in and say hi anytime from those devices right from your cell phone. And so that's a really neat way to stay connected with your loved ones when you don't live right in town, or even if you do live right in town. You may work out of town and have a break 15, 20 minutes, and you can at least say hi and check in. And that does help loneliness. It curbs it. And if you're the person who's actually living with loneliness, that's a good way for you to stay connected with friends and family too. The second thing that you can actually do to help with loneliness and isolation is to take a class. Most colleges and universities in communities across the country have lifelong learning classes that anyone can take. I just learned of a class here in our local area that is all about the history of the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia. And being born and raised here, I don't think about that, but I absolutely think that that's a wonderful class that anyone could take. And if you're able to get out and about, it's really good because they actually will take you on field trips. So you can go and visit some of the historic sites in the area. For those who are not able to do that, lifelong learning classes can actually be online and they can be out on myriad topics. There are so many topics that you just wouldn't believe it. And you can take online classes from any school in the entire world. And there are all kinds of free places that you can take classes, like Khan Academy, or Harvard actually has free classes that you can take online, and so does Stanford University. So you can plug into all of those things and continue to grow your brain and learn every single day. And you actually are in class online with other people. Many of them probably are in the same situation and are feeling a little isolated and lonely. And it's a really good way to make friends. So the third thing you can actually do to help with loneliness and isolation is to restart an old hobby. So think about back to the time when you might have been working and you did some things outside of your job. Maybe it was gardening and you developed and built a vegetable garden, and that was how you fed your family. But now that's a little too overwhelming. But what about an herb garden? So you could actually have an above above ground herb garden. And we've seen this with many of our clients here at Home Helpers, where they will have an herb garden right outside the back door, even on a balcony if they're in an apartment building, and have a raised garden so that it's more at the height that you don't have to bend over and work on growing anything. Oftentimes we'll see folks that will have potted tomato plants and potted green pepper plants out on the balcony or on the patio, and they just have, it's really healthy too. You're getting out in the sunshine, you're out there in the fresh air, and you're also growing your own food to eat, something that you probably like to do whenever you were younger. Another thing that people will do is they will join bird watching groups. And while you can stay at your home and watch the birds, it also is nice to have those friends that you develop relationships with in the warmer weather, so that over the colder weather and you're feeding the birds, you actually can take photos of them. You can talk about who was at the feeder this morning and be able to share all of that information with your friends. And we also have a really nice Audubon Society here in our area. It's a very active group, and they have connections that you can actually make that are not necessarily in-person contacts. And so you can develop those friends who have a love for watching birds, for instance. There are also other groups that you can get involved with when it comes to hobbies, like at our local senior centers. They have exercise classes and such as Tai Chi, and they have chair yoga and all kinds of different activities that you can get involved with through your local senior center. So those are some of the tips that you also can think about as you're deciding what it is that you want to restart doing whenever it's one of your old hobbies that you used to do in the past. Even one of the hobbies that I see people participate in is playing card games. There are bridge clubs, pinochle clubs, mahjong. There's checker clubs and chess clubs that are all senior citizens. So if those are some of the hobbies or things that you have liked to do in the past, why not participate again? You absolutely can do that. The fourth thing that you can consider doing to help with loneliness and isolation is to get involved with technology. And maybe that sounds a little scary to you because you have not really worked or used technology in the past. So here at Home Helpers, we've developed a program where we have some iPads here at the office, and sometimes we'll have a client that wants to use technology but never has, and we'll bring the iPad out to the house, and they'll have to have Wi-Fi in the home, but our Care Pro will actually help them to learn how to do things on the iPad. So it might be that you're learning to read a book that way, because on an iPad you can make the print really big. So you're engaging with your Care Pro to be able to learn how to use technology, which is really a cool thing. I mean, I just love watching a 92-year-old person learn how to use an iPad and play word search or checkers right on an iPad with another person. It's really great. You can watch videos there. You can use it to chat with those family members who don't live in the area. You can also use it to document. So you can write down maybe a journal that you'd like to have. Sometimes it involves a lot of our clients that use them. They use them for reading, because you can go from having a very small print, which you would have like in a newspaper, but on the iPad, you can make it 3 or 4 or 5 times the size of what you see on a newspaper for the print. It'll be more like a headline, and you're not paying for a large print magazine. You can see the magazine or the newspaper right on the iPad. So I like to read my newspaper that way. I like to read books that way. And in all honesty, I think that it helps you quite a bit in regard to your loneliness and isolation, because as you know, when we read a novel, it really takes our imagination and the creativity that we have in our brain to put ourselves inside the novel and live with the characters that are in the novel. And so I think that our seniors have really benefited from using the iPads when they've allowed us to teach them how to do that. The fifth topic to think about in regard to helping with isolation and loneliness, whether it's yourself or whether it's a loved one, is to consider having professional companions come to the home. So when a professional companion, or Care Pro, as we call them here at Home Helpers, comes to the home, they're there to not only help with things like personal care and housework and whatever, but one of the main things that we do for our clients and the main service that we provide is companionship. It's not uncommon that that client really looks forward to seeing their caregiver on a regular basis. They look forward to those visits, whether it's 3 times a week or it's every day of the week for half a day or a full day. It's really a great way to be able to get out into the public. If you're able to transfer and get into a car, your Care Pro can take you places, even for a drive. That's really uplifting. You're getting out in the air. You're actually getting out in the sunshine or the rain, whatever the weather may be around here for the day. And so it really is a great way to develop relationships relationships over and above the relationships that you have with your family. And having a care pro there at the home takes care of the tasks that you need to have done so that when your daughter or son comes to visit or friends come to visit, they don't have to be the caregiver then. They're there as a family member. They're there as your daughter or your son or your friend or your sister or your brother. They don't have to perform all those tasks that your care pro can actually do. And your care pro and you develop a different type of a relationship. It is more of a friend relationship, and it's a type of reliability, and they can actually help even with developing purpose for your daily activities and help you to engage with others. They can help you with card writing and reading if you're not able to see well enough to read anymore. They can help you with knowing what's going on in the news and in not just watching it on TV, but maybe reading the paper to you. They can take you to activities at the senior center. They can take you to activities at your church. So just always consider having a professional come, because they help you develop a purpose in life, and they also help you with staving off isolation and loneliness. So just consider calling Home Helpers for that. To learn more about Home Helpers Home Care and how we can make your life easier, give us a call at 304-433-8000.